All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to not an edition of Fall Like an Eagle podcast. This is an edition of UFC Breakdown with me, Kyle Mager, and Zach Harris on the other side. How you doing, Zach?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know, today was kind of like a down day for me. I was out till like 5 o'clock in the morning last night. The bars finally opened up in Pennsylvania, so I went over there, had a good time, and then finally woke up at 1 o'clock. So it's been a pretty good day so far. I'm not gonna lie.
I just got done working at 1 o'clock. That's a little ridiculous. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my sleep schedule's fucked up because I came back from Vegas, but that's no here nor there. We're going to talk about some fights tonight. Now, we're going to break down the main card because the prelim card, we're going to focus more towards the casual fan base of the UFC because we're trying to build up the UFC for people that really haven't been paying attention to it or just getting into it now. And this is a stacked card. So we're going to start off with our first fight on the main card. Amanda Ribas, a minus 770 against Paige Vanzant plus 500. Now, this is my lock of the night when it comes to bets because Paige Vanzant is a hype train. Don't get me wrong. Like, she's a very attractive woman. She could be a model. Fighting wise, I feel like this is her last fight in the UFC. I feel that, she really hasn't been tested. And when she has been tested, she hasn't succeeded. And you know what? She in her four losses over her career, 2 of those losses have been via submission. And who's the lady she's facing tonight? Amanda Ribas. She's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. All right. So I want to get your thoughts and opinions of what I just basically told you. I want to get your thoughts and opinions on who you think is going to win this fight and why.
Well, I'm a little more known with Paige Vanzant. I follow her on Instagram because, like you said, she's a very attractive woman. So me and my wife fawn over her a lot. Basically, with Paige Vanzant, she makes a lot more money coming off of Instagram and her posts there than what she does fighting. So I think a lot of the stuff is how bad does she want it? Obviously, she took some time off. She got a boob job. Her arm was injured. And her last fight, I believe she won by decision, but it was a close fight that could have went either way. Her defense isn't that great, and going against Amanda Ribas, who's great at attacking, it's going to be a difficult fight. I think, like you said, that's your lock of the night. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Paige Vanzant took her time, was patient, and looked for her spots to hit, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. I'm going to take Amanda.
Right, yeah. I mean, Amanda Ribas is a lock of the night. Now, I'm not going to tell you to lay the minus 770 because that is just ridiculous. I mean, anyone laying $770 to win 100 at this point has a lot of money, and I'm just not going to tell you to do that. So, what I will tell you to do as a lock of the night in this fight, under 2.5 rounds. This gets finished in the first round. Paige Vanzant's fighting career in the UFC tonight, it's over. It's done because she's looking for more money. UFC's not going to give her more money because her wins have been coming off people that have been 4-5 and 5-5. That's just not getting it done. Like I said before, she's a very attractive lady. You could market her if she was actually really good at fighting, but she's not. Her defense sucks, and she's going to get exposed tonight against Amanda Ribas. And I think this ends in round number 1. So lock of the night under the 2.5 rounds. And I think this gets finished fairly quickly. So,
all right, one last thing. Ribas, for those of you that know UFC, Ribas is everything that you were supposed to see with Paige Vanzant. The next hype up, everything that was going to come her way. And honestly, Ribas, they're about the same age. This girl can do everything that we thought Paige Vanzant can. So, like you said, this is probably going to be her last fight. She's making more money off Instagram. She wants money. She's got a lot of followers. She does a lot of great things with nutrition and everything of that nature. So, I don't think her heart's really in this fight.
Yeah, no, it's not at all. You know what? Like you said, it's like how much does she want it? The problem is she's going up against an absolute monster. So it's not like how much she wants it. I just feel like you said, her defense isn't very good. And you're going up against a very versatile woman in Amanda Ribas, and it's just not going to work out. So Paige Vanzant, bye after tonight, and that's all she wrote. All right, we're on to the next fight. We have Rose Namajunas rematch against Jessica Andrade. All right, the last fight that these two ladies had was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. All right, It was Jessica Andrade's hometown. Now she slammed Rose Namajunas on her head. Now basically, you're asking why Rose is such a big favorite in this fight because of that. Because when that happens, sometimes fighters don't come back from that. Now, Rose is fighting in basically a neutral site, Abu Dhabi. It's not even close to Brazil, and it's not even close to America. It's kind of like it's hot as fuck out there. You know,
Fight Island, baby.
Fight Island. Listen, I want to go out there one day. Unfortunately, it's not for fans. But in this fight, Rose Namajunas is a minus 200. So she's a 2-1 favorite in this fight against a lady that slammed her on her head. I wouldn't tell you to take Rose Namajunas minus the 200 because of that factor in it. But you also have to factor in Jessica Andrade. Her last fight, she got beat by, who was it? I don't know how to pronounce her name. She's the champion in the strawweight division. She just beat Joanna Ginger, however the fuck you say that name. All right, she just beat her, and it was probably the fight of the year. But Jessica Andrade just lost to the champion in that division. So value-wise, I'd actually lead towards Jessica Andrade, to be honest with you. That's the pick I'd pick in this fight if I was leading, because I would just not lay the minus 200 on a lady that got slammed on her head against the same chick. I just wouldn't do it. But if you want to play for value and get your money in, you pick Jessica Andrade plus the 165. And I would go over the 2.5 rounds in this one. I don't see this being a finish. I see this actually going the distance because Rose is going to be more careful on her feet. She's not going to really attack Jessica Andrade tonight. And I just feel like it's going to be a safe fight, a very boring fight. I see this going over the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think this goes all 5 rounds or 3 rounds, I believe this one. Yeah, this one's a 3-round fight. I believe it's going to go all 3 rounds. I think a lot of people are heavy on Rose because, like you said, she got slammed on her head. Outside of that, she was dominant in that fight, and she was going to win by decision if it came down to that. But with getting hit on the head, it just, whatever reason, it just took her out of her game. She wasn't able to recatch herself, and she lost the fight. I think I'm going to go with Rose on this one. Simple fact, because she knows she made that one stupid mistake by allowing her to get slammed on the head. I think she's going to come in a lot more patient. I think she's going to wait her spots, and she's better on the ground. I mean, Jessica's good at takedown defense, but if Rose can get her on the ground, I think she has a good chance of taking this to the end and winning by decision.
Winning by points. Okay, so I have Jessica and you have Rose. All right, we're on to the next fight. Peter Yan, up-and-comer in the UFC, against aged veteran Jose Aldo. Champion for 10 years, Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo is coming in at a plus 193 on DraftKings Sportsbook, and Peter Yan is the favorite at minus 240. This is another value fight for me. I'm going to start off with this one. I guess I'll start off with this one as well. Jose Aldo, I have Jose winning this fight, and I think you should take your value where it's at because I think Jose Aldo is on his way out. And he wants to make a statement on his way out. So I feel like Peter Yan, yeah, he's going to have his chance in an absolute loaded division. He's going to have his shot. He beat Uriah Faber. Like, he destroyed Uriah Faber. But Uriah Faber is like almost 40 years old, if he's not 40 years old already. And, you know, he's going to have a shot. He's a monster. But I think this is Jose Aldo's last fight to prove that he still got it. And, you know, he lost a decision against, I think it was Morales, which a lot of people on their scorecards had him winning that fight, you know? So I think this is why he got this title bout, because Dana White was like, you know what? He really should have won his last fight anyway. So let's just throw him into this title bout, see what he's got, and see if he could he could pull it out. Now, the only problem is if Jose Aldo wins this fight, you can't really build up Peter Yan anymore. So that would be the only problem I see with the UFC in an absolute division I just said. But Jose Aldo, if he does win this fight, I think, and I'm going to predict this right now, he's going to retire in Fight Island, lay his gloves on the floor, and that'll be his last fight in the UFC. He'll go out with a bang, and the title will get vacated, and that's why Peter Yan will have another shot. So I'm going Jose Aldo.
Obviously, there's a lot on the line for both of these guys, especially with Peter being an up-and-coming guy. We've seen it before where these up-and-coming guys lose a big fight like this that they probably should win, and that's their last chance for another couple of years. They got to build themselves up because UFC, unfortunately, it's a political thing. You got to win fights, but you also got to be able to sell fights too. And, you know, for many people, they don't know who Peter Yan is. This is going to be his fight to put him on the mat, especially against a guy like Jose Aldo. Up until that Conor McGregor fight was absolutely dominant of every single opponent. But the last couple of fights, I feel like his striking defense has not been up to par that we've seen over that 10-year stretch. I feel like he's very vulnerable, and Peter Yan likes to land some strikes. And unfortunately, I don't see this ending well for Jose Aldo. I think this is going to end by knockout, probably somewhere between the second and third round.
All right, so you would take the under 2.5 in this one.
Yeah.
I'm on a different side. I think it goes to the decision. I think Jose Aldo is going to try to knock him out, obviously, but Peter Yan's going to adjust. And I think Jose Aldo is going to win on points in this one. I think he's going to win 2-1, and then he says bye-bye to the UFC. So I got Jose Aldo, you got Peter Yan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is the most intriguing matchup on the card, in my opinion. Alex Volkanovski, the champion, against Max Holloway, who has been reigned for a long time. Alex Volkanovski, the minus 220 against Max Holloway, plus 175. Now, Max is getting a lot of value here for a belt that he held for some time. And, this is a tough one for me because Alex Volkanovski, you look at the people that he fought, he has a high resume, and if I went up and pulled up the statistics right here for Alex Volkanovski, I could tell you who he fought, and I was looking at a pre-fight. So his last 3 fights, he fought Chad Mendes. That got finished in the second round. He fought Jose Aldo. That was a decision, and he beat Max Holloway, the champion. So 3 straight fights, key names. Chad Mendes fought Conor McGregor notoriously back in 2016, 2015. Lost the title shot lost the bout to him, and Conor got the title. Alex Volkanovski, in my opinion, is a huge mismatch to Max Holloway, and I just feel like he's going to land his shots, especially on the body, and Volkanovski is going to retain the title. So if I were to put value on this fight, I wouldn't pick the rounds. I would actually lay the minus 220 and pick Alex Volkanovski. Probably put it in the parlay, but if you have the money, do it straight up because I think this is another lock of the night. I think Volkanovski is going to beat Max Holloway pretty handily.
All right, so if you're a Max fan like I am, after that Conor McGregor fight, he went on an absolute tear. We need to see more of that where he kind of paced himself. He was with the leg kicks. He was striking. He was takedown defense. He was the whole 9 yards in that stretch of wins that were unmatched by very many others in UFC. I think Max Holloway is going to go back to that. He's going to be a little more reserved. He's not going to come out like he did the last time he faced Alexander, and where really Alexander tore him apart. He's got to watch out for the reach. If he can get the leg kicks going early, I could see Max taking this bout. If he doesn't, then this is Alexander's fight.
Yeah. No, I just think that Alex Volkanovski is the next big thing in the UFC, and they're going to hype him up. Max Holloway had his run, the blessed era. He had his run for a while. He beat Frankie Edgar. I think it was his last fight he actually won against Frankie Edgar. That was in Canada. I remember where I was for that one because I bet on Max Holloway at minus 420. But yeah, I just feel like Max's era is it's past. It ran its course, and Alex is the new champion. They're going to try to build him up. So I have that actually going the distance. I have that going over 4.5 rounds. But it's pricey. So if you could get it like going the distance at minus 230, I mean, I would say take it going the distance. I just feel like both men are cautious fighters when it comes to like seeing power in other opponent. So I feel like this one goes the distance. So that would be another pick of mine. On this last and final fight, hype train, Jorge Masvidal going against Kamaru Usman. All right, a lot of people don't like Usman, so I could see them betting for Masvidal. With that said, Masvidal has a shot to be the next Conor McGregor in the UFC because obviously he landed the flying knee on Ben Askren last July in Las Vegas, the fastest knockout in UFC history. It's memed every single day. I actually didn't love watching that at first because I had Ben Askren in a parlay when I was in Vegas. It wasn't fun. But then I realized what he actually did, and he changed the sport with that flying knee. But with that said, he's going up against an absolute monster. Kamaru Usman was a D1 wrestler. He's a smart fighter. He takes his chances when he sees it. He doesn't try to he's not like a gambler to where you're at the blackjack table and you're trying to go all in on every single hand. He's very smart. He's very technical, and I see Kamaru Usman winning on points, and I see it being a fairly not close fight at all. Now, Jorge Masvidal, he's a violent fighter. He throws his strikes and he goes for that knockout punch every single time. But he hasn't really fought someone like Kamaru Usman. Now, you could say that he went against Darren Till and beat him in his hometown. That's fine. But Darren Till's not on the level of Kamaru Usman. Like, Usman is a beast. Like, he made Kobe Covington look like a bitch, and Kobe Covington's one of the best fighters in MMA. So Kamaru Usman's going to win this fight fairly easily. And unfortunately, now I would love to see Jorge Masvidal win because I feel like he could be the next superstar, but he doesn't have the skill to beat Kamaru Usman in a five-round fight. He just doesn't. And I have Kamaru Usman winning this one, and I have it going over. It's another big bet for me. I have it going over the 4.5 rounds, and I have it going the decision.
All right, for me, obviously you got the baddest man on the planet in Jorge Masvidal, and then Kamaru Usman. I was Usman all day until he came out a couple of days. I think once Jorge first took the fight, I believe he came out and basically started laying the seed for his own apology if he loses, because he's like, oh, everybody's like, oh, he took the fight on 7 days. If he wins, I didn't get to prepare, blah, blah, blah. You know, you don't often hear that from the guy that's waiting. He had to accept the fight too. So obviously both these guys are at a disadvantage because you really study the game tape of somebody else. And Jorge comes in a slight favorite in my book, only for the simple fact that Jorge's been waiting for this fight for months on months on months. And Usman's was expected to fight somebody else. So you come in at a slight disadvantage. I think that's going to show in the early rounds, maybe round 1, round 2. Jorge may get the best of him, keep him on the ground, keep him up in the standing position. His ground defense is not that great, but he can avoid the takedown slightly. He's like a Conor McGregor when it comes to the takedowns. It's an underrated factor, only for the simple fact that he's so good on his feet that when it comes to his defense, you don't talk about it enough. Jorge can stop the takedowns, but like you said, Usman's an elite fighter. He's actually a lot better striker than people realize. He's been getting better fight by fight. I think Jorge's going to get the best of him early, but this is a long game, and with having to make that cut within 7 days and having to take that flight and make the cut is just going to be too much. So this is going to be all 5 rounds, and I'm going to take Usman, who's going to really excel in rounds 3 through 5. I think the first 2 rounds are going to belong to Jorge.
Yeah, so we're both on the same page when it comes to the last fight. Now, key losses in the Masvidal era versus Damian Maia, an aged Damian Maia at UFC 211, and Stephen Thompson, a karate fighter, at UFC 217 in New York. Now, Damian Maia was a wrestler just like Usman is, and Usman was a D1 wrestler. Usman only has 1 loss. Jorge Masvidal has 13 losses in his career. All right, so his hype train is definitely alive and well. You have to realize something too, and I know I might disappoint people when it comes to this. Nate Diaz isn't that good of a fighter. Now, he has that key win over Conor McGregor where he choked him out on the ground, but Conor McGregor's wrestling game sucks, and he wasn't smart about it. Nate Diaz was never really that good of a fighter at all, and he made Nate Diaz look bad. People were like, oh, Masvidal looked great in that fight. Masvidal, he hasn't really been given competition. I mean, he was given Ben Askren, but Ben Askren, you couldn't really see that fight for what it was because Ben made that stupid decision by trying to shoot and take him down, and he capitalized on a flying knee and landed with perfection. So the only person he really was tested against was Darren Till, and that was pretty much it. And Darren Till, to my knowledge, Darren Till was actually going through some shit at that time. So I think this is a fairly easy fight for Usman tonight. Like I truly do. And 6 days 6 days notice, that's tough as it is, you know. So those are our picks. Those are our bets. And anything else you want to say?
What's your betting line look like? What did you put money on?
All right, so I have a parlay going tonight. Parlay for UFC 251. I'll give it out. I don't really care. So for the first fight, I have Amanda Ribas, obviously the minus 770. You're going to throw that in a parlay. You're not going to put that straight up because it's a fight game. You never bet that much on a fight. But if I were to put something in a parlay, just maximum potential, I would say it does not go the distance. Minus 125 on the first fight. Put it in a parlay, a 5-team or 4-team or whatever you want to do. My second bet, it would be Jessica Andrade plus 165. I would throw her in a parlay as well, or straight up because I love the value. Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. I also love Jose Aldo. Those are 2 dogs in a row. So if you don't want to do 2 dogs in a row, because usually 2 dogs in a row are tough to win, I would go to Rose Namajunas because I like Jose Aldo a lot more as a dog. I would go to the Rose Namajunas fight, and I would go over the 2.5 on that one. Throw that in there. Alex Volkanovski, I would throw in a parlay as well, minus 220. I would actually do a max bet on Alex Volkanovski. I think that's a very easy fight. And then obviously I like the over 4.5 for Usman and Masvidal. That goes the distance as well. And if you love winning money, pick Usman. That's another max bet at minus 265.
Well, for me, obviously I don't have the betting lines in front of me, but just speaking to the casual fan, I don't have anything open around me. COVID-19's got all the stuff shut down for me, so I can't really go bet anywhere. We can't bet online here in New York. But for the casual fan, this is a great card to watch because you got many known names. You got Max Holloway, you have Jose Aldo, Paige Vanzant, Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal. You got a lot of named guys on here, and there's going to be a lot of fireworks between these fights. There's a lot of stand-up guys. There's a lot of strikers. Up until the championship bout with Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal, but that could easily be a stand-up for the first round or 2 going into that. So there's going to be a lot of fireworks. It's going to be exciting. This bout hasn't been talked about enough, obviously on 7 days' notice, but this card hasn't been talked about enough. There's a lot of great talent, present and future talent. So be on the lookout for casual fans. If you want to start watching UFC, I would suggest starting right here. Not everything's about Conor McGregor. Nope. Not everything's about John Jones. Those guys are guys of the past. And another thing, look out for Conor McGregor on Twitter. I know he likes to talk. For the Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, he's probably going to want the winner of these 2. So be on the lookout for Twitter because Conor's always watching and he's always got something to say. You know, just like Kyle, he's always got something to say.
Listen, Conor's always at the front of the line. I don't care what anybody says. People hate on Conor all the time. The guy makes the most money, you know, and when you make money, it's the thing that rules the world. When you make money, you're going to get your shot. Khabib's and rest in peace to his dad that just passed away from COVID. When Khabib said that I will not fight him next, it's not his decision because Conor made Khabib so much money in that fight, even though Conor lost and Khabib pretty much killed him. Conor made him a boatload of money. So it's like, why don't you care about money? The guy made so much money in that second Nate Diaz fight. I think he made like $40 million in that fight. And the Floyd Mayweather boxing fight, you know, if the UFC didn't take their cut from Conor, he would have made $70 million in that fight. So the guy knows how to make money. The guy knows how to brand himself. And I love Conor. And he's on top of that, he's a great fighter. Like, people think that he's just a hype machine. No, Conor's a great fighter. He made Cowboy look like a bitch. Like, he laid his shoulder. I've never seen that in my life before. They start the fight by going up, and he just shoulders him right in the nose. I've never seen that before. You know,
I've seen it a couple of places, but not to the efficient level that Conor McGregor used it. People don't realize that Conor McGregor is a man of the tape. If you listen in between the lines of his shit talking and sometimes verbal abuse of opponents, if you listen in between the lines, he literally tells you what he's seen on tape, how he's going to go at his opponent, and then he goes out and does it. So for me, Conor McGregor, when I watched him against Nurmagomedov, however the hell you say his last name. I used to know how to say his last name. But when you see him go against him, there was a different factor that went into that fight outside of that octagon that as soon as you saw Conor walk in, for anybody that's even just a casual fan that only watches Conor McGregor, you go back, watch that octagon fight between those two. There was a different Conor McGregor. There wasn't the confident / cocky Conor McGregor in that octagon. You could see it walking in that it wasn't the same guy. I don't know what happened, if the drinking got to him, if the Russian mob got to him. I'm not going to be conspiracizing, but, you know, something wasn't right with Conor that fight. I would really like to see these two go back at it. I don't think Conor would win, but, you know, it'd be definitely a lot better of a fight than we saw the last time those two come around. But look out for Conor to take on one of these two that's going to come out and crown champion again.
Yeah, he's not retired. Conor will be back for at least 3 more fights in his career. And he wants the gate. That's the thing. He doesn't want to fight right now because he wants that live gate. He doesn't want to be affected by the coronavirus where you're just getting points on pay-per-view. He wants everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why he's waiting for next year, which he can do. He's earned it, and he can do whatever he wants. So with that said, this was a great first episode of UFC predictions, and we're going to do many more of these. We don't know if we're going to do the fight nights, but we'll definitely be back for the pay-per-views. But this was great, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah, I had fun. Not many people know how to talk UFC, so I'm glad that I found somebody like Kyle that knows his stuff. If you want to learn more about UFC, like I said, this is a great card to start out with because there's so many legends that are on here. Max Holloway, Jose Aldo, those are 2 legends. Kamaru Usman, obviously in the prime of his career right now. Jorge Masvidal, for those of you that know UFC in and out, he's been, one of the veterans of the game, and it's about time that he's kind of rose to fame. So that's why I'm kind of rooting for Jorge because he's been a veteran of the game. He's fought almost 50 UFC or MMA fights. It's about time that he finally gets a championship bout. So that's kind of why I'm rooting for him. I don't think he's going to win, but if you want to learn your stuff, listen to Kyle. Kyle's great on this, and hopefully he'll invite me back, and we'll have some more stuff for you.
Oh, you're going to be back next time. I would love to expand the knowledge out to people that don't know the sport. You know what I'm saying? Like Trevor, for example, he doesn't really watch. I want him to watch because UFC is great. MMA in general is great. Like Bellator, they're great events and they're violent. Like if you like violence, you're going to love UFC. It's just how it is. But yeah, great show, man. Blessing to have you.
I appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back next Thursday with Fly Like an Eagle podcast. And until then, we're out. Bye.